Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, a place where I share all things herbal remedies, sustainability, homesteading, fermenting, culturing, raising chickens, gardens, and everything in between. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I'm actually doing a video following up on the video I did for you a couple weeks ago where I shared that our family is transitioning from, or we have transitioned from a vegan lifestyle into a more well-rounded lifestyle where we're eating animal products again. And I wanted to just give you a quick update and also wanted to talk about just tips. I wanted to give you tips on how to transition back into eating meat after being vegan. I was vegan for 10 years. If you want to check out that video where I talk about a lot of our health issues and why we decided to leave the vegan lifestyle, you can watch that here. It's been a huge transition, but also a huge blessing. We're healing so quickly. My body has been just miraculous. It's been doing so much. I've been healing so fast, and my oldest son, who was really struggling with his health, is almost 100% better. He's like vibrant and glowing, and his skin, he's got color to his face, and he's got the dark circles are disappearing. And same with my younger son, like they're just doing so well, and I'm doing so well, and our whole family is just doing so well. So yeah, you can go watch that video. I'll put the links in this link for that video in the show notes. But I wanted to just address kind of how challenging it was for me to transition to eating meat again, because it had been 10 years and I was never a big meat eater to begin with. Like I was a picky eater growing up, and I did not eat well. I grew up on a standard American diet. Like growing up, I didn't understand health or how important it was to eat certain food groups or any of that stuff. And it's not the case in my house. Like if I don't talk about food once a day in our house, like my husband thinks there's something wrong with me. Like my kids are learning the different ways to eat and what they need, nutritionally, and what helps their brain health and what helps them grow and what's good for bones, and like all of these things we talk about regularly, along with natural healing and herbal healing and remedies and all of those things. So they're getting a totally different upbringing than I did, but I just wasn't a good eater, I would say, and I wasn't a big meat eater. I never craved it. And so for me, transitioning to a vegan diet was actually pretty easy, just in the sense that I didn't crave meat, and I really never craved meat over the last 10 years. Like I never was one of those women who on their period like craved a juicy steak. Didn't happen. I didn't crave chicken or any of that stuff. Maybe the hardest thing for me to give up at the time was cheese. Even that, like it wasn't that big of a craving. I just didn't want it. So in saying that, like going back to eating animal flesh has been a trip. And it's been definitely a mental hurdle to get over, because if you've been vegan for any length of time, you know that it becomes kind of like a religion. It becomes very dogmatic. You really think that you're doing the best for yourself and your health and the planet and the animals, and that's it. You kind of get these blinders and you're like, this is it. So you're not really receptive to any other ways. And for me, I was like, I'm not meant to eat meat because I don't even miss it. Like I'm meant to be vegan. I'm meant to be a vegetarian, right? So it was kind of this justification I had, like that said I was on the right path. Even though my health was failing, I still didn't crave meat. Well, until I craved salmon. That was that was really the only thing, and it was at the very end. And it wasn't really even a craving, it was more just like an intuitive knowing, like you need to go eat a salmon, like right now. You need to eat a salmon. So if you watched my other video, that's what I ended up doing. But after that, I've eaten pretty much everything now. I feel like I've eaten pig, I've eaten cow, I've eaten fish, and I'm eating eggs continually. I've even introduced raw dairy and even some like non-raw organic pasteurized dairy, and I've been okay. I am healing my gut. So in saying that, I'm still having gut issues, but never did any of the meat or the reintroduction of meat products upset my gut. In fact, my digestion has been 100 times better. I haven't had as much pain or heartburn that I've experienced in the past, and overall my health is just doing so much better, so much energy, so much more mental clarity. My brain health is so good. I'm like happier, I'm satiated, I'm joyful. Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm so grateful that we've transitioned back into eating animal products, even though it's been hard for me as a conscious consumer, and it's been hard for me mentally to kind of overcome that hurdle that I'm eating an animal. This life died for me. This animal's life was taken for me. It's a thing to wrap your head around, right? And as a vegan in particular, and one who'd been vegan for a decade, it's a lot. It's just a lot. You think you're going to be vegan forever, and you think you're never going to have an animal die for you, even though, as I addressed in my last video, that's just not the case. Every time you eat, something dies for you. It's just a fact of being on this planet, period. Everything eats everything. You cannot get away from killing something to survive. It just is what it is. So in saying that, it was still hard for me, and I wanted to give others who might be struggling, like when I was struggling those first couple of weeks, I was like on YouTube searching like how to reintroduce meat, like how to eat meat. Like I was struggling. So I'm creating this video for those of you who are like me and are like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get back to it. Meat disgusts me. The smell disgusts me. All of those things. Yeah, that was me. Here are 4 really simple tips that have helped me. So number 1, start slow. I say this and I didn't start slow. I'm kind of a go-getter, rip the band-aid off type gal. I just wanted to dive back into doing what I needed to do to recover my health because I was struggling. And so if you have health issues, you might be more like me and you're like, dude, I just want to jump right in. And if that's you, tips 2 through 4 are going to be more your style. If you're not like me, start slow. Like I've heard others talk about adding collagen to their smoothies, and that was just kind of an easy way to start introducing animal fats and proteins, into their life without having to taste it or deal with it. I'm kind of brutal on myself, and I wanted to know exactly where the collagen was coming from because never will I ever support factory farming or big ag or anything of those things. I really am trying to support local farmers. I want to make sure that the animals are raised right. I want to make sure they're grass fed. Like I have kind of requirements now that I've been vegan, and overall it's for the best, for my health and for the health of the planet and the animals, to support locally. But I didn't know if I could do that with collagen. So I was like, I'm not going to start with collagen. But for others, that's been a really, there are really good companies out there that do collagen supplements, and they just added it to their smoothies, and it was a really simple way to like kind of transition. I cut out fruit in the beginning. Really, I'm still not eating a whole lot of fruit because it upsets my stomach. And so for me, that really wasn't an option in smoothies. In saying that, I've now transitioned to adding some collagen into my morning coffee drink that I make. And, it's flavorless, and it's just another way to get that nutritional profile in. After collagen, start really small. Introduce eggs. And if you can handle dairy, introduce dairy. Get raw dairy. You can go to the Weston Price Foundation website and find a local dairy that's close to you that serves raw milk, or like I know in California there's quite a few dairies there that their products get sold at local grocery stores. Find a local dairy, and if dairy sits well with you, introduce that, right? Start small, do butter and eggs and maybe some ghee and maybe some, milk. And when that sits okay with you, then start adding in other things. You could add in oysters or crickets, maybe even. I have not tried a cricket, but maybe you could do crickets, or shrimp and seafood, crabs, lobster. Like you can just kind of ease into it that way and see how it feels when you eat it, and make sure that your gut's okay. Like I didn't experience any gut disruption, but I know some people have talked about how they felt a little nauseous, or maybe they had some diarrhea, something like that. I've heard quite a bit from vegans who've been vegan long-term that they didn't have any gut issues when they started implementing meat again. So I think it just really, really depends on your body and how your gut is working. Tip 2, for those of you who just want to jump in, you got to give yourself a pep talk. You kind of just got to bitch slap yourself. I had to do that from the get-go. I was making these very nutritionally dense, healing meat broths or meat stocks. A bone broth is entirely different than a meat stock. So I was making these homemade meat stocks, and I would sit down to eat them, and I was just so grossed out by the whole process that I couldn't eat it. I remember the first night I did it, I had spent the day like making it, the whole house smelled like meat stock, and I sat down at the table, and my husband was like, dude, homemade chicken soup, like score. It's been how many years since he's had it. And my boys who've never had it, were excited to try it because it's kind of this American staple, right? Like chicken soup when you're sick, or in the winter, just cozy up with a bowl of chicken soup. Like, they were excited to try it. And I sat there and was totally repulsed by it because I had gone through the whole process to make it. But the next day, I kind of had to give myself the bitch slap. Like, I sat down and I said, you have to take this. This is nutritionally dense. This is going to heal your gut. The collagen and the gelatin that is in this broth that you made specifically for this is going to heal your gut, right? It's got what it has what your body needs, and you just need to get over it and quit complaining and just do it. And along with that, I added in little mantras. So before I would eat, I would say, like, this tastes so amazing. This is so nutritionally dense. This tastes so good. I can't wait to eat this. I can't wait to taste this. Like, I would kind of psych myself up. And I remember that first lunch where it actually started to taste good. Like, I took a few sips and I was like, it's not terrible, you know? And then like a few more sips and I was like, actually, this is pretty good. And suddenly it was like something instinctually kicked in and my body was like, we need this. Oh my goodness, we've missed this. We need whatever is in this broth. So I just ate the whole bowl and I felt great. So after that day, it got easier and easier, and I just continued to give myself pep talks like, this is full of iron. This is full of the minerals you need. This is full of everything that you need to heal. And in doing that, it's been easier and easier, and it started to taste better and better. And now chicken tastes really good to me. At first it was kind of gross, and now I eat it and it's like, wow, I'm satiated. I'm so grateful. It's a totally different mindset. And we all know that your mindset can just really mess with you. Wait, yeah. Tip 3, which also has been really, really helpful for me, is to bless my food. And this isn't something new to me. I started blessing my food off and on in my early vegan years. I thought that was a really wonderful practice to do. I didn't grow up with prayer over food or anything like that. So I think it's a really beautiful practice to do, no matter what you're eating. But especially when a life is being taken to sustain your life, I think it helps emotionally and mentally and spiritually and energetically to bless it. So when you sit down to eat that meal, if you're struggling with it, take a moment to thank that animal that is giving you life sustenance. You know, cry if you need to, feel the emotion, understand that there is no life without death. As a vegan, we get really detached from that circle of life, that process of life, that everything dies. And there is no eating without death. No matter if you're vegan or not, something is dying to feed you. And to understand that is incredibly helpful. I mentioned this book in the last video, but if you've not read or listened to The Vegetarian Myth, I highly suggest you do, because it really breaks down the whole process of the agricultural industry and how animals die, really no matter how you eat. So if you were going to kill an animal, do it the right way, do it locally, be more picky, don't support the food, the big food industry, the big corporations, big ag, of course don't support factory farming, and do your best. Shop at farmers markets, go to local butchers who often are in connection with local farmers. Go that route. There are also websites you can go onto where you can find local farms and reach out to them, right? So in saying that, bless your food. Thank the animal that's been sacrificed for your health. Thank the farmer who's worked so hard to grow the food that's on your plate. Thank the rancher, thank Mother Earth, thank God, whoever and whatever it is. Just give a blessing and energetically infuse the food with love. And in that, it's going to make it a higher vibration food, and it's going to give you a better experience. Tip 4 I have is to add salt. And I know this seems like a no-brainer, but coming from a vegan lifestyle where often you hear a lot of messages of low fat and low sodium, add the damn salt. It makes it taste better, especially when you're doing broths in the beginning. And actually, I'm following a GAPS protocol, which stands for gut and psychology syndrome, or gut and physiology syndrome. She has 2 different books. She says add the salt. Especially, make sure that it's like Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt. Definitely make sure that it's a high quality salt, but salt is great. It's got all the minerals that we need, and just add it. It makes it so much easier to transition. Like if I'd had to have a chicken broth with no salt in the beginning, I don't know. I don't know how that would have gone. It would have been rougher. Like it's the processed salt and the salt on all the processed foods that we experience that cause issues, not like the whole real salt that is nutritionally dense. If you want some more salt, add more in there. It's fine. It's helpful. I'm not saying like, go overboard, but seriously, if it needs a little bit more salt and pepper, do it. So one extra tip I'm gonna give you as well is to eat what you're craving. I craved bacon, and that's what I ate. So for the first week and a half, I ate eggs and bacon like 2 of my meals out of the day. That's what I wanted. That's what tasted good. I felt satiated. And, I also craved other pork products, interestingly enough. So I started introducing like carnitas or slow pulled pork. Ham tasted good, which was really interesting to me. And then I looked up the nutrient profile of pork, and, it was feeding a lot of these deficiencies that I believed I had with my brain health. So listen to your body, and if you're really struggling with thought of introducing meat, but one meat sounds good, eat that. Eat it, honor it, and see how you feel. Like, start small. If you're craving, turkey, take a bite, see how it feels. If it feels great, eat some more. Like, eat it until you don't crave it anymore. I'm still eating bacon, not like I was, but I'm still eating it pretty regularly, multiple times a week, I would say. And I'm okay with that because I know that I starved my body for too long, and whatever's in that bacon, I'm all about it. I'm also not scared of cholesterol or any of those things because I've done a whole lot of research. So like I said, go to the Weston A. Price Foundation, check out Nourishing Traditions, read about the GAPS diet, and you'll understand that all of the ideas we have about our food has been funded by big corporations, government corporations, big ag, and we need to really start researching and evaluating where this information is coming from and not taking stuff at face value. So those are my tips for you. I hope they've been helpful. If they have, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any tips that have really helped you transition from a vegan diet to eating meat, then put those below. Or if you try something and it works, let me know. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe when you are here so that you get notified of new videos that come out each week. And I think that is it. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.